Shana Tova. I am indeed Bob Sherman, co-president of Beth El, and this is my second year, and no need to worry, I'm too old to run again. Wait a minute. I want to introduce my co-president, Stephanie Marks. I cannot imagine a better partner, who will also be co-president next year. I want to thank, first of all, Rabbi Creditor, of course, for taking us this far and much further as we go throughout the next day. I want to thank Rabbi Olitsky and Rabbi Martyr, our wonderful clergy, joined this year by Wade Melnick, rabbinic intern. We meet weekly and talk often daily, hourly. And if you don't already know it, let me assure you, our two spiritual leaders are yotzei min haklal, exceptional human beings who care so deeply and work so tirelessly, literally night and day. I think their spouses can attest to that, to maintain and strengthen this sacred space. I also want to thank Steve Zeidberg, our executive director. Steve is a magician at keeping Beth El running in all its complexity. And thanks to every other person on the staff, too many to name individually, office, maintenance, and program, who bring Beth El to life every single day. I want to also acknowledge our officers and the board. I've been doing this in the nonprofit world for 40-something years, and I've never experienced a smarter, more strategic, and more committed board than ours. But the shul isn't just led by the professionals in the board. There are so many volunteers who serve on committees, task forces, affinity groups, like Men's Club, Sisterhood, or Boomers Group, or just donate their time individually. I encourage you to volunteer if you're able, because community, as JFK reminded us when he was inaugurated just a few years ago, is as much about what you bring to it as what you get from it. If you are like me, you feel fortunate and grateful to be a member of Beth El. When I talk to people outside of Beth El about Beth El, their eyes often grow wide, sometimes with envy, but often with just amazement at how vital and vibrant we are. That is our greatest strength. I can assure you that we have a very passionate membership. Last year I spoke about three different types of Jewish communities, the tzibur, the edah, and the kahal or kehillah. The tzibur is the kind of community that makes it possible for us to perform certain functions like a minyan. You don't have to even know the other members of that kind of community. The edah is a community of like-minded, even at times single-minded people. The connections between people in an edah are close and tight. They are passionate about what they believe. The problem with an edah, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out, is that it can be organized for good and for bad. An edah community can view others, the outsider, as a threat or even as an enemy. The kehillah tends to be all-inclusive. It is diverse. And though members may be committed to the same broad mission, a kehillah may be comprised of many edahs or sub-communities that conflict and sometimes contend with each other. A kehillah can be nourished by diversity and can also be pulled in many directions at once and devolve into contention and chaos. One of the most difficult challenges of leadership in a kehillah, a community that embraces diversity such as ours, far more than making sure that the budget is balanced or that we have the right strategy in place, is holding the community together when facing complex adaptive problems, which really have no known solution. There are moments when I ask myself why I thought this would be a good way to spend my retirement. But I have a ready answer to my own question as I reflect on all the ways my life has been enriched by belonging here. Here is where I belong. I experience a feeling of connection and familiarity with a group of people based on direct relationships and personal bonds. It is here at Beth El that I can fulfill a big portion of my religious life, participating in our communal rituals that provide me with both structure and meaning. And this is a place of sanctuary, a place where I can feel safe and secure, a place at times of refuge and protection. I need that in a world that sometimes presents to me as hostile and threatening. Having a place where I know I belong, where I can engage in sanctifying rituals, and where I can find refuge is no small thing. But let me change gears for a moment. Because I've been thinking a lot about the way we communicate with each other, the way we use words as weapons and as relationship builders, the difference between lies, exaggeration, and disinformation, the way all speech becomes politicized in a fraud environment, what we say to each other and how we say it, what we don't say and why we keep it to ourselves, how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about others, about the difference between talking at someone and with someone, about what we mean when we say we need to have difficult conversations. Can we really hear someone who is saying things that trigger us? So if you'll indulge me, I want to reflect for a moment about gossip. After all, a lot of talk between people is taken up with gossip, at home, in the workplace, and even on the national or the international stage. I'm sure that if I ask each and every one of you whether you think gossip is good or bad, most of you will lean toward the negative. And yet, gossip may have been essential to human survival and to have given us a big leg up over other animals not capable of it. It may even be an important factor in building community, whether Edah or Kehillah. It's a fundamental way in which we bond with others. We do it at home and at parties, in the school parking lot, and even at the shul. Gifted gossips may be the most connected people in a communal network. They often spread what some see as essential information. Gossip, however, may also be malicious, destructive, and immoral. In Jewish tradition, Lashon Hara, often translated as evil speech, is considered a serious and dangerous sin. And Lashon Hara, speaking negatively about someone, is seen as a triple threat to the gossiper, to the one being gossiped about, and to the person hearing it. It doesn't even matter if the gossip is true, which can make it more problematic. It is equally condemned. A recent editorial in the Times was titled, "Gossip, it's fun, it's natural, and these people won't do it." These people, as referred to by the author Michal Leibowitz, have taken a personal oath not to engage in it. I challenge you. Try to go a day or a few days or a week without engaging in any gossip, especially if you think of gossip in the broad sense of casual talking about people who aren't present. I tried and I failed miserably again and again. It is so habitual, so hardwired into our brains, and can you imagine what would happen if every time someone began to gossip to you, you fell silent, turned away, or left the conversation? Some research supports, however, that when a person quits gossiping, others begin to view them as more trustworthy, even if a bit less fun to be around. But apparently there are people, mostly women, according to Michal Leibowitz, of the opinion piece that I just mentioned, who have made a commitment to not do it. One woman highlighted said that she had used gossip, quote, as a way of kind of not examining my own life, as an escape. I was thinking more about other people and what they were doing, and how what they were doing was so much worse than what I was doing, and so I didn't really have to think about myself. That's something to reflect on Yom Kippur. In one of the last paragraphs of her article, Michal confesses, "The less I judge people, the less I want to judge people. The less I complain, the less I want to complain. The less, maybe, that I even see things to complain about." I don't know about you, but I sure would like to have fewer things to complain about. But I propose that the opposite of gossip is silence. Non-speech and silence in this sense is paradoxical. It is necessary for being able to hear what we are not inclined to hear, and it can also be deafening and alienating. In 1964, on their first album, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel released the song, The Sound of Silence. Simon was 21 when he wrote it. It's a mournful, haunting melody filled with anxiety and alienation, fitting a 21-year-old. It captures, however, the true desperation we feel when we find ourselves unable to communicate. Humans are social animals, community builders, and we desperately need to connect with each other, and we do it best with words. The middle of the song goes, I saw 10,000 people, maybe more people, talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fools, said I, you do not know silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might read you. The idea that silence has a sound is obviously paradoxical. In the magisterial prayer at the center of our High Holy Day liturgy, the Unetana Tokef, we read, V'shofar gadol yitaka, v'kol d'mama daka yishama. An amazing verse of poetry. Just listen to that. You'll hear it soon. It means, and a great, maybe cosmic would be a better way to say it, shofar will be blasted, and a thin, silent voice will be heard. There it is, that paradoxical concept of a silent voice, the sound of silence. The shofar blast acts mysteriously as a divine hearing aid and makes it possible for us to hear what we've otherwise grown unable to hear. And what is it that we don't hear? I don't think it's gossip. We hear that well enough. For Paul Simon, the sound of silence was the sound of people so alienated from each other, so alone that whatever they say or hear becomes swallowed by silence. I learned a harsh lesson many years ago when I came to realize that as a CEO, I often caused more harm by not hearing, by not listening, by not paying attention to the voices around me than by anything I actually did. The shofar blast, instead of deafening us as we might expect, forces us to pay attention to the sounds that we have been incapable of hearing due to the endless barrage of chatter inside of us and outside that keeps us from being vulnerable and compassionate. This has been a very tough year. It has been a year that sometimes strained the boundaries of Jewish community across our country and across the world, and right here. It has also, at times, brought us together. Just this past week, at the commemoration at Bethel of the October 7th Hamas attack, we bonded in solidarity with people, some of whom had radically different perspectives than our own. This attested to the fact that our Kehillah, a community of highly diverse individuals, doesn't need to resolve all conflicts in order to hold itself together. To do that, we must learn to listen to the voices, even those that trigger us. And we must free ourselves from the kinds of gossip that keep us from paying attention to our own actions. We have to come together as a Kehillah, in spite of our various Eidah sub-communities, in order to keep the whole community strong, a place of refuge, a place of sanctity, and a place where we can all belong. It's been a tough year for the Jews around this country. And curiously, it has spurred a desire on the part of many people to deepen their connections to Jewish community and the wisdom embedded in our traditions. Rabbis across the country report a significant uptick in both new members and in the engagement of existing members. It is no surprise that in times of increased threat and anti-Semitism, and not just at a distance, but up close, sometimes in our own neighborhoods and communities, Jews would look inward, seek sanctuary, and need to connect where they feel safe and comfortable belonging. As a very active and dynamic community, I don't know for sure that what we are seeing here at Bethel is an expression of those sentiments, but I do know that participation is up and seems to be growing. People want more, and in some cases are clamoring for it. What is amazing is that leadership at this time isn't only coming from those of us formally designated as leaders, it's coming from many congregants who have agreed to step up, join a task force, participate in an affinity group, or individually volunteer. Sanctity, sanctuary, a place where you know you belong. I believe we find that here at Bethel when we curb the chatter, focus on our commitment to be better and do better, break the silence, teach each other, and reach out to each other. One advertisement. Every year at this time, we launch our annual partnership campaign. This wouldn't be a president's speech if I didn't. This campaign not only helps us to meet our budget, but to also expand and grow what we have to offer. When you are contacted, please give generously as you are able to do, as generously as you're able to do. No gift is too small, and every gift matters. Shana Tova.